this press conference. I also want to thank Amy Elliott, who is a state representative and running for re-election, who's behind me, Jennifer Corday, who's running for state rep, Stephanie Pace, who's on the county board here in Madison County, Chris Lusher, who is the Madison County Treasurer, and David Michael, the Madison County Auditor, for joining me here today on this important matter. On September 1, news outlets began reporting on an investigation relating to suspected mail-in voting fraud in Madison County during the Democrat June primary. The suspected voting fraud specifically relates to votes cast for Democrat write-in candidates on the primary election ballot. What we know is mainly what has been reported thus far. When the June 27 primary mail-in ballots were being processed by Republican and Democrat election judges, judges noticed that the handwriting on the write-in portion on one or more Democrat ballots did not appear to match the handwriting on the certification envelope for those mail-in ballots. The election judges noticed another problem. They noticed that some of the Democrat mail-in ballots they were counting appeared to have similar handwriting on the write-in portion of those ballots. It has been reported that these Republican and Democrat election judges suspected vote fraud and brought that to the attention of the county clerk. And that the county clerk, a Democrat, then referred the matter to the authorities. Law enforcement then impounded roughly 39 Democrat mail-in ballots, which were not counted, then interviewed suspects and took witness statements. The Madison County State's Attorney then filed a request under seal that a special prosecutor be appointed to investigate this matter. The Madison County Circuit Court then referred the matter to the Illinois Attorney General. The Illinois Attorney General, Kwame Royal, accepted this referral and has confirmed through a spokesman that an investigation is underway. While anyone can be written in, regardless of the office they are running for, there are only spaces on the ballot for write-ins if a candidate files a declaration of write-in candidacy for an office ahead of time. Otherwise, there isn't a line on the ballot to write in a candidate for office. In the subject Democrat primary this past June, there were only 2 declared Democrat write-in candidates, Ebony Huddleston and Barry Julian, both running for circuit judge in the newly drawn judicial sub-circuits. We Republicans have been very critical of these brand new gerrymandered judicial sub-circuits, and they are the subject of a pending lawsuit. Both Huddleston and Julian ran in that Democrat primary as write-in candidates because they were not on the ballot due to their nominating petitions being legally deficient. In sum, what we know today is that it has been reported that handwriting on roughly 39 Democrat mail-in ballots in the June Democrat primary was so suspicious to both the Republican and Democrat election judges that the county clerk referred these ballots to law enforcement, and there is now a vote fraud investigation being handled by the Illinois Attorney General. We don't know yet who is responsible for this suspected election fraud or whether multiple people were involved. Thankfully, systems in place were able to identify the situation for investigation. The Democrat and Republican election judges noticed the issue, notified the clerk, who notified law enforcement, and all those parties should be thanked for their role in referring suspected election fraud for investigation. In a free society, honest elections are critical to both good governance and voter confidence in close elections, which is why Kwame Royal, the current Illinois Attorney General, should expedite and complete this investigation of suspected vote fraud before the conclusion of the November 8th election. No one should want such an investigation hovering over an important election. The good people of Madison County and the health of our democracy deserve no less. Thank you. Any questions?
Why do you think this issue, voter fraud or attempts at voter fraud, is good politics for Republicans?
Honest, as I said, honest elections are critical to good governance and voter confidence in the outcome of close elections. We've had a lot of very close elections. We had close elections in 2020 for president and in 2016 for president. In both cases, the parties on the losing side questioned the honesty of the election. So that's why at the Illinois Republican Party, we view election integrity as a very important thing. And we have very robust election integrity efforts underway.
But you could be making a different argument. You just applauded the Democratic County Clerk for doing her job. Wasn't this an example of the system working as it should?
Yes, and I did say that. We do applaud the Republican and the Democrat election judges and the county clerk, who is a Democrat, for doing their job and referring this suspected voter fraud to the authorities.
Democrats are campaigning in East St. Louis this morning, and some of them caught wind of your press conference today. They said, oh, this is a strategy to gin up 2020 election denial or election concerns all over again, as sort of a political strategy. Do you care to respond to that?
The 2020 election is over. I'm focused, and we at the Republican Party are focused on the 2022 election. And this investigation is about the 2022 election.
Madison County has had investigations in the past that were open. This one specifically is sealed. Can you kind of address the fact that this one is sealed? Is anything going to be pursued to see if we can get it unsealed?
No, because it is sealed, I really can't tell you why it was sealed or when it will be unsealed. I assume that when the investigation is complete, it will be unsealed, which is why, another reason why it is so important that the Attorney General of Illinois, Kwame Royale, make this a priority investigation, expedite the investigation, and if at all possible, conclude it before the November 8th election.
What's at stake in Springfield or on the ballot this November if Republicans can eat into the Democratic supermajority, maybe take that away from them? What does that mean for the state as a whole? What's on the ballot this fall?
Well, at a minimum, it would help make Illinois a two-party state again. We have seen the downsides of having one party control all the statewide offices and have a supermajority in the House and the Senate, and the governor's office as well. They ran through legislation like what I call the Unsafety Act at like 4:30 in the morning, 800 pages, not giving the other side time to even read it. We also see as a result of one-party rule that about 16 Democrat legislators and Democrat Chicago aldermen have been indicted since Pritzker took office in 2019. One-party control of any state is no good, especially in Illinois. We need to restore a two-party system to Illinois. All right, well, thank you very much. Thanks for coming.